So let's get into it.
Let's go.
Stress is killing you. And here's how you
Me?
can fix it. You, right now. Stress is killing you right now. But it's true. There's so many things that people are stressed about right now, and it's causing them an enormous amount of pain and suffering. So, the quick question I want to ask all of you that are watching this right now, we're going to take a second to think about the answer. Most people are stressed by finances, by their health, by a family member's health, by their business, their relationship, how their children are getting on at school. Ask yourself this question: can this be any different than what it is right now? And some of you might be thinking, well, of course. The answer is no.
Mm.
My first reaction was, of course, you can change it. Of course, it can be different. And I've asked this to maybe 15 clients in the last 2 weeks, and they've all said yes as well. Yes, it could be different. It can't. And then they go, well, if I didn't spend all that money in Vegas, I'd have a better financial position. I know, but you did spend the money in Vegas. So that's the problem. So you're denying reality. Can it be different going forward is a different question. And of course it can, because you can put in different strategies, but it can't be different than what it is right now, because it would be, but it's not.
Yeah, reality is that's what it is. All you can do is change your mind and thoughts towards it and how you perceive it. And you can either look at it as positive or negative or in a neutral way. But it's seeing it for what it is. So using the example there, that's why you're in that financial position, because you spent that money. It's done. You can't change it. But like what you said, what do you want to do about it going forward?
Very different.
Very different. I think stress is that you're right. There's a lot of people that are stressed at the moment. You know, we're still into the air quote new year. Sorry, I'm doing air quote new year. I'm not going to get too spiritual or philosophical. But people are very stressed. This is the highest rate of divorce happens in January, especially in the UK. This is when people realize, yep, now I'm going to end the relationship. I think people are still reflecting a lot off the back of the Christmas period. In the UK, it's dark, it's cold, there's snowstorms, and people are just a bit like, ugh. There's a so-called Blue Monday that
Bit like
happens.
what?
Ugh.
All right, yeah.
There's a so-called Blue Monday. I don't know what that is. Red Monday, Orange Monday. These days that we have. I think stress is very complicated as well. It's not just the thoughts that causes stress. It's a whole complex of emotions and also experiences inside the body. But it is generated by thought. So it's first generated from the thought of how you're perceiving whatever the stress is, whatever that is in your life. But that then triggers a number of different processes in the body, emotions, heart rate increases, adrenaline can go up, cortisol strikes, peaks, it, and then people can start sweating as well. It just depends. They start flapping, another name there, but it's very complex. And it's not just because I originally looked at stress as, oh, it's just a thought. It's not actually. There's a lot that happens after that thought in the body. And to be able to come back to the present moment, depending on how severe that stress is, can be quite challenging for a lot of people.
I think that the weight of the label can also contribute to how you're really feeling. Because some people, I'd say a lot of people, go to the big 4 or 5: anxious, depressed, angry, stressed, and maybe you're exhausted. Maybe you're apprehensive. It's not to deny how you're really feeling, by the way. I'm not an advocate for that at all. But when we use these heavy labels and direct our thinking towards those labels, and you've labeled it as anxiety, every time you feel apprehensive, you're going to go to crippling anxiety or panic attack. or highly stressed or burnt out, and I said it to some of our clients earlier, I don't think people actually understand what burnout is.
Mm.
Burnout can cause aneurysms and strokes and heart attacks. Maybe you're not burnt out, maybe you're just tired and need to go to bed,
Yeah. Have a
right?
nap.
Yeah. The burnout is real. It's a very
Mm.
real thing, and it's extremely detrimental to your health. But if you are feeling anxious, I would challenge it and say, "How long have you felt anxious for?" And they might say, "Oh, for as long as I can remember." Well, then it's no longer a feeling, is it? It's a state of being. That's who you are.
Mm.
If you decide to direct your focus to that. I've always been anxious, Adam. Like, is it always? It's never
Every
been.
moment.
Yeah, every moment you're just always anxious. It might be more of your emotional home. It might be something that you revisit quite frequently and that you're in a state of anxiety more frequently than you're not. And yes, there are people that are born with anxiety disorders and things like that. And there's no denial that shit happens in life. But what are you making it mean when you go through a challenge? That's the difference. If your partner says, "I want to talk to you about our relationship because I don't feel you've been showing up for me in the right way," if you make that mean that you're a shit husband and shit father and you don't deserve happiness, then yeah, you're probably going to feel quite anxious about that. If you look at it as an opportunity to grow, the meaning's very different. So it could mean this is going to be redirection for me. This might be revolutionary for our relationship. Don't know yet. But don't go to the extreme straight away because that is going to form anxiety. It is going to form more stress. And then the negative impacts of said stress are extremely detrimental to your body, as you've alluded to already.
Mm. Yes, and I can say from almost 8 years, probably, yeah, 8 years of meditation and mindfulness, a daily practice, a ritual, I still get stressed, especially with 2 children at the age of 4, when it's all go, 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 and we're rushing to get out of the house and get into nursery on time, and, it's all happening. That's just an example. It can be stressful. But what the meditation does is that voice in your head that everyone has that's playing all the time, because it is playing all the time, it starts to separate it and interrupt it. That's what the meditation of mindful does. It interrupts that voice in your head and the patterns, and then it'll break the thoughts up, and you'll start to recognize the thoughts as simply a thought. That's the depths you can get to in the meditation. So, and what you'll be able to do over time is, when the stress comes in and, I don't know, something's annoying you, or stress in the business, or stress at home or family, it's all going on, you'll be able to recognize that thought. You'll still feel the stress, but you won't sit in it as long. It could be gone in a minute, if that, because that's what the meditation does.
Mm.
And the stress, the thought that's created the stress is a mental object. It's a mental object experiencing consciousness. That's all it is. But then it does trigger all that physiological responses in the body. Heart rate going up, sweaty palms, cortisol spiking, adrenaline going up, etc. And then that has impact on what we say outwardly, or we don't say anything, or we snap, or we can't sleep at night because the stress is there. We make poor food choices off the back of it. But that's where the mindfulness and meditation can help. Yeah.
Mm.
It's like you can do it daily. I recommend to do it daily, but because that's going to equip you for when the stress arises. Obviously, there's things you can do when the stress does arise, isn't there? Right there and then. But I believe in the daily practice every day to help with it and respond to that stress more effectively.
Yeah, that's it. It's
Mm.
kind of like the stretching before you go to the gym kind of thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? The meditation, and the more you do that, the more it's going to make you more agile, mobile, flexible, etc. But yeah, I think that the more aware you are of it, the more you can adjust it in the moment too. So Dr. Gabor Mate talks about this a lot. He says, wherever there's tension, give it attention.
Oh, I
If
like
you've
that.
got yeah, if you've got tension in your shoulder and your neck, it's probably because you've been hunched over at a desk all day, which does cause stress. Because if you can feel it in your body, you're going to probably feel it in your mind as well.
Mm,
So if you stand up, put your shoulders back, adjust your neck position, maybe rub the side of your face and down the back of your neck just to release some of that pressure. Feels amazing. If
mm,
you've got tension in your chest, make sure you're focusing on your breath, and by doing 10 sets of box breathing, just to reduce it in the moment because you are lost in thought. Someone
mm,
said to me, I've got chronic back pain. I said, no, you've got back pain. The chronic is like a permanent state, and it's implying that it can't be changed and what have you. But the
mm,
back pain comes from his inaction due to sitting down all day and air quote not having time for what I asked, or to leave my desk. How so? Well, because I've got clients to get back to. What happens if you don't get back to the clients? They'll be angry and they'll be disappointed. What happens if the clients are angry and disappointed? Oh, then they might leave. And then what happens if they leave your business? Well, then I'll start to lose money. What happens when you lose money? I won't be able to have the same life that I've got now. What happens when you haven't got the same life you've got now? I feel insecure. Why do you feel insecure? Oh, because I've created a lifestyle that, and I said, what?
mm.
Well, I've created a lifestyle that, I said, what? That you have to live up to by others' expectations? He's like, fucking hell, yeah.
Yeah. How do we end
And
up here?
what happens when you don't live up to the life of expectations that you've created? Well, then I don't feel good enough. And what does not feeling good enough remind you of? When I was at school and I was a kid and the teacher used to shout at me. So how do we get there from neck pain? Well, this is the real shit, mate. And people go, "Oh, it's not that deep." It
It
usually is
is.
because it's just peeling back the layers. You come with your surface level bullshit of, "Oh, I just overwork," or "I'm a perfectionist," or "I'm a procrastinator." No, you've probably got low self-esteem. The
Mm.
fact that you don't remove yourself or you can't bear the thought of peeling yourself away from your desk for half an hour is all fear based. Because if I asked, this is another great question that I asked him, does the best version, the what?
So I was just laughing at the peeling yourself away from the desk, like
Yeah,
you're
like, I
peeling
can't,
skin off, like,
I
oh.
can't. But like I said, does the best version of you worry about getting outside for fresh air? I said, no, I love being in nature. Right. Well, let's imagine that if you're fearful about money, then let's imagine I've just given you 200 grand. Are you happy? He said, yeah, it'd be great. And then he just came alive. I said, well, that's who you are then.
Yeah.
That joy, that sense of freedom that you're experiencing is you at your core. But the fear is keeping you stuck where you're at.
Mm. And the thought of you handing over £200,000 just elevated his whole physiology and said, "Oh, this is great. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
hold on to that. Hold on to that."
correct. That's the feeling that you can create right now, not the 200 grand, but the feeling,
Yeah.
because it's very different. So if you're waiting for X client to pay the big thing or to, when I complete a high rocks, then I'll know I'm an athlete, blah, blah, insert whatever goal that you put in your future worth in. What if you were to create some of that worth right now instead and say,
Mm.
do I need to cross the finish line to be good enough? Or can I just do it right now and say, I'm doing really fucking well, actually? Then
Yeah.
you'll start to reduce said stress and you'll start to live in the moment. It's not to say that your present moment or your situation isn't stressful. If your mother's dying, if your children are getting bullied in school, if your business is failing, yes, I can understand emotional and intellectual level that these are really fucking challenging. But you don't need to make it worse than it is, regardless of the scenario. Oh, but I know that, if he gets picked on, then he won't be able to settle in another school. And I know that you don't know
Don't
anything yet.
know.
that dream client that you're looking at signing might be an absolute pain in the ass. You
Mm.
don't know yet. So,
Yeah. And the thing
it
that you do know is usually, or you think you know, is based on previous experience of yourself or someone else's, or something you've seen. But when you
or
actually
you
look
may
at the
never have done
when
it.
you start to bring in the data or the evidence, when you ask that question, what evidence have you got that that's true? You all of a sudden they go, oh, actually none. Yeah, it's the voice in your head that's creating it.
Yeah, equally, it could be that you've never experienced it. Let's say hypothetically, when we started A Game, and I remember when we landed our first five-figure client, my head nearly fell off. I couldn't believe it. What the fuck? Because I was earning 30, 40 grand a year in my previous role. We've just taken more than a third of my former annual salary with one client. But then
Mm,
that client was really testing, if you remember, and a bit of a pain in the ass.
yeah.
So, at the time, I thought, this is amazing. When they pay, I'm going to feel X. And it was a nice feeling, don't get me wrong. But then it wasn't actually that incredible once it landed. And it made life pretty stressful for a few months.
Mm,
So you don't know yet if it's going to be the best thing that ever happened or the worst thing that ever happened. A close family friend of mine lost his mum to cancer, and she was ill for about 5 years, and it just got so bad. It went all across her body. Then she was in remission, and it came back again. Oh, fuck me. She was in a right mess by the end of it. And at the time, obviously, we're all devastated because we all loved her. But I remember speaking to him after the funeral, and he just said, like, mate, these last 2 weeks, I've never been closer to my dad. In the planning of the funeral, and they spent time together. They went to football together for the first time in 10 years. They had a few like curries together and spent real good quality time together. But at the time, this was utterly devastating. There's no good from this. But the good that came of it was that she's free from pain, that he's now realigned with his dad, and they've got a stronger relationship than they've ever had before.
mm,
So,
love that.
if we can find it in death, we can probably, of a mother, we can probably find it with the client win or
Mm,
lack of, you know?
100%. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys have found that useful. Let us know in the comment section of your thoughts on this. We'd love to hear them. And until then, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.